In the previous lecture, we guys were done with defining the required code for this sign in screen. Then we defined the code for this send button over here. Fine. And as soon as the teacher will hit the send button, automatically a table with name questions is going to get created, where the question which this teacher is going to mention over here in this text area is going to get saved. Now we were also done with defining the code for this label box over here. So when the student will hit the label box, which they'll come across when they will access the students panel, so they are going to see this question which the teacher has broadcasted recently, getting reflected over here on this board. Fine. Now how the student can reply to the question which is going to get reflected on his dashboard. That's what we are going to code first. If any student want to reply to the question which the teacher has broadcasted, so for that what he can do, he can write down his name over here. Fine. And then he can make use of this text area for writing down the answer of that question. Okay, once he is done with writing down the answer, he needs to hit this submit button. Now when he will hit the submit button, how the teacher is going to get the answer with which he has replied to this question over here? That's what we need to think. So the best way is to make use of the data browser facility. See what we guys can do. We guys can store the answer as well as the name and the question in a table like structure, and then in order to pull the details on the device on which the teacher is currently working, or the device on which the teacher is accessing the teacher's panel, or on the teacher's panel, what we can do, we can make use of the read records block, and we can fetch the required details from that table. So I'm going to define this create record block inside this uneven block, and let's change the ID of this to the ID of this button, which is submit. Fine. So when the user will hit the submit button, automatically a table with name answers is going to get created on the data browser, and in this table I would like three different fields to get created. First field is the name of the first field that I would like to get created is question, and from where can I get the data or value for this question named field? We can get it from this label box over here. So let's make use of this get text block. Okay, and let's copy the ID of this label box from here and paste it over here. Okay, now I am going to make use of this code for defining the code for the other two fields. So the second field I am going to define over here is let's say name. Okay, in which we would like to store name of the student. So the student is going to enter his name over here. The ID of this input box is student name. So let's copy this from here and put it in place of this get question. Okay, let's now copy this whole thing and place a comma, and after that I am putting this whole thing over here. Now let's change this name to answer. Here the answer part is going to get saved. So from where can we get the value of this answer part? We can get it from here, from this text area, the ID of which is answer. So when the user will hit the submit button, automatically this table named answers is going to get created. And let's make it more interactive by adding a play speech block to this uneven block over here. So you can find it easily in the UI control section of the toolbox, as you guys very well know about it. So let's change the text to you successfully submitted your response. Fine. And once the student is done with submitting his response for this question, I would like whatever he has written over here in this answers named text area, everything over here should go disappear. For doing that, we can make use of this set text property, and let's define the ID of this text area inside this. So it is answer that we need to write down over here, and let's pass a value, so answer. So again, this answer which is coming over here, it is again going to get reflected the way it is reflecting right now in this text area once the user is done with hitting this submit button. Fine. Now let's come on the teachers panel. How this teacher is going to receive the input made by the students. So for doing that, see, we have a button over here. So let's define the required code for this get the answer button. I'm going to make use of this uneven block. Let's put it right in the bottom, and let's convert it into text based coding, block based coding, sorry. And from this first drop down, I'm going to select the ID of this button, that is get answer. This is the one. So when the teacher will hit this get the answer button, I would like with whatever answer the student has responded to the question given by the teacher should get reflected over here. The answer should be visible to the teacher over here in this text area, and the name of the student should also be visible to the teacher over here in this label box. So let's convert it into text based coding and define the required code inside this uneven block. So how can we do that? We can do it with the help of read records block, because the answer and everything is getting saved in this answers named table. So we need to pull the records from this answers named table. Let's change this my table to answers. Now when the teacher will hit this answers named table, I would like to set the text. I would like to set the text for of this component equal to the text, or you can say answer, with which the student has replied to the question broadcasted by the teacher. So from where can I get we can get it? We can get it from this simple line of code. So the answers in the answers named table are getting saved in this answer named column. So that's what we need to define over here. Fine. So now whatever is there in this answer named column, that is going to get pulled up, and it is going to get reflected over here in this text area. Fine. Now one thing that we need to make sure is the answer which is getting pulled up from this answers named table, it should be for the question which is getting reflected on the board of this teachers panel. So how can we put a check on this thing? So what we can do, we can write down the name of the field in which the question are getting saved in this answers named table over here in between these two curly brackets, right? And let's match it with the one with the question which is there in this text area. So the ID of this text area is question. Now this condition is going to make sure that the answer which is going to get reflected over here should be for this question only. If there are suppose 2 or 3 questions which this teacher has given to any set of students, so the question which is there on this board at present, for that question only the out the inputs made by the students are going to get pulled up by this code that we have defined over here. Okay, the way we have set the text part of this text area, in the same way I am going to set the text part of this label box also. So it is student. Fine. And from where can we get the student's name? So we can get it from this column named name. So that is the reason we need to replace this answer with name. Fine. Okay. Besides that, let's make it more interactive by adding a sound to this uneven block. We have defined in this workspace. So where is that? Play sound block. Okay, so this is the one. I'm going to place it right after the point where this read records block is ending. Let's convert it into block based coding and select a good sound from the sounds library. So let's come on this notifications tab and select this one. Fine. Great. Okay, now the teacher will be able to receive the student name and the answer with which he has responded to this question given by her. Let's now run this app and see whether we'll be able to get the desired output or not. So I'm going to make use of this link and let's open two different browsers. So this is the first browser and this is the second one. Let's paste the link over here. Fine, and here also I am going to paste that copied link. So you have to assume that this is the first device and this one is the second device. Fine. On this one I'm going to access the students panel and on this one I am going to access the teachers panel. So for accessing the teachers panel we need to write down teacher over here and teacher in this password field too. Okay.
Welcome teacher.
And for accessing the students panel we need to write down student in both these fields.
Welcome student.
Okay, so we are done with accessing these two panels on two different devices. Now I'm going to write down a question over here. What is the capital of India? Fine. Let's hit the send button and see what is going to happen. Okay, so the teacher is done with sending the question. Fine. Now let's see whether this student will be able to receive the question on his respective dashboard or not. So for that he need to hit this label box over here. That's great. So the student is able to receive the question. Let's see whether he'll be able to respond to this question given by the teacher or not. So for that he need to write down his name over here first. I'm writing my name over here. Okay, and let's reply to this question. So Delhi is the capital of India. Fine. Now I'm going to hit the submit button. Let's see what is going to happen.
You successfully submitted your response.
Okay, so I successfully submitted my response. Now whatever I wrote over here is now no more visible to me, right? Let's see whether this teacher over here will be able to receive the answer with which I replied to this question given by her. So for that she need to hit this get the answer button. So as you can see the answer is visible over here in this text area and this name which I have written over here is also getting reflected. So this app, whatever code we have defined till now in the workspace, it is working perfectly fine. Now if suppose there are more than 4 students, then how she'll be able to get the name as well as the answers with which the students have replied for the question broadcasted by this teacher on her respective panel. That's what we need to code now. So let's come on this workspace. Let me close these windows first. Fine. Okay, so now as you can see, there are two buttons which I have defined on this teachers panel. Now with the help of these buttons, teachers can check out the answers of all the students who have submitted their response for the question broadcasted by her. How? That's what I am going to tell you now. So let's make use of this uneven block. I'm going to drop it right in the bottom. Let's convert it into text based coding first. So we are going to make use of next and previous button. Fine. And for that we'll be requiring a counter variable. So I am going to use var x is equals to 0. So var is a keyword with which you can declare any variable on this JavaScript platform. And this is an assignment operator with which you can assign any value to any particular variable like this. Now I am going to convert it into block based coding, and right in the first drop down of this uneven block I am going to select the ID of this button. So the ID of this button is next name. Let's select this next name from here. This is the one. Now when this teacher will hit this next name button, what should happen? So I would like the value of x to get incremented by 1 first. Okay, that's what I would like to do. Secondly, all the information, all the required information is going to get saved in this answers named table. In order to fetch the information from this table, we can make use of this read records block. Let's place it right below this line of code. Okay, and I'm going to change the name of the table to answers. Now one thing that I need to mention over here inside these two curly brackets is the ID part. Okay, so for that we can do it like this. So if the ID matches with the value of x, then whatever information is present against that ID for this question which is there on this teacher's panel should be visible to us over here in these two fields. So how can we do that? So first thing is, I'm done with putting the check on this ID part. Now I need to put a check on this question part also, because I want to fetch the answers only for this question, right? So let's make use of this if block. I'm going to place it over here. Now I need to get the text from this component, the ID of which is question, q is in small, and I need to match it up with the records which are present in the column named question, q is in capital. If this condition is true, then I would like to pull up the student name and the answer, okay, which is present against this question for this ID in this answers named table. So for doing that, we can again come up and copy these two lines of code and place it inside this if loop like this. So I am done with defining the required code. Let's make it more interactive by adding a sound to this uneven block. Fine, let's convert it into block based coding and select a relevant sound from this sounds library of the Applab. So again I am going to make use of the sounds which are there in this notifications group of the sounds library. Let's make use of this fourth one. As you can see, the URL has changed now. Let's now define the code for this priv name button. Fine, so for doing that we are going to copy this whole code we have defined for the next button and paste it over here. The only change that we need to make over here is we need to replace this plus with minus. Rest everything is going to remain the same. Okay, now I am going to run this app again on 3 different browsers and see whether this code we have defined over here is going to give us the desired output or not. So as you can see right now, there are three different questions present in this table. Okay, and in this answers named table, this is the data we have. Fine, let's use this link and run this app on three different browsers. So you have to assume that these are three different devices on which I am currently accessing this app. Fine, and I'm going to run this app on this code.org platform also. So on this mobile simulator, I am going to access the teachers panel. Fine, and on those three devices, I am going to access the students panel.
Welcome teacher.
So as you can see, the teachers panel is visible to me right now. And over here on these three panels, I am going to access the students panel. So let's do that quickly.
Welcome student.
Okay.
Welcome student. Welcome student.
So currently I'm accessing the students panel on these three devices. Now let's go back on that code.org platform and make use of this teachers panel for broadcasting a question. So here I go. Okay, so let's write down a question over here. What comes after May? Fine. So let's hit this send button. Okay, as you can see, the question which I have given just now is getting reflected over here in this questions name table right in the bottom. Let's hit this label box over here. So I'm able to pull the question on all these three devices. Let's reply to this question from this first device. So here I am writing my name, and after May, June comes, right? So this is the correct answer. Let's hit this submit button and see what is going to happen.
You
Okay,
successfully submitted your response.
so Gaurav is done with submitting the response for this question. Let's come on this second device, and here I am going to make use of this name, Anubhav Jain. uh, I don't know. Fine. Okay, let's hit this submit button.
You successfully submitted your
So
response.
Anubhav is also done with submitting his response. Come on this third device. Here I am going to write down Vikrant Jain, July. Let's hit this submit button.
You successfully submitted your response.
So all three, Gaurav, Anubhav and Vikrant, are done with submitting the response for this question broadcasted by the teacher. Now let's come on that teachers panel and see whether we'll be able to fetch the responses over here on this panel or not. Fine, let's hit this get the answer button over here. So I'm able to see Vikrant's response getting reflected over here, right? Let's now hit this next button and see what's gonna happen. So I'm able to see Gaurav's response. So he responded with June with this answer, and it is getting reflected over here. Fine, and Anubhav's response is also visible to us. So with these next and previous button, we are able to navigate in between the responses with which they guys responded to this question broadcasted by the teacher. Fine, next part is how can this teacher give the score to these students. Fine, for the answer they have replied to this question with. So that's what we are going to check out in the next lecture. Hope you guys enjoyed this one a lot. Do like and share this video as much as possible in your groups so that more and more students can come and join this channel and learn to code in free. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye bye.